Ve'elishmos b'nei Yisrael boy Mitzrayim eis Yaakov vishu v'eso bo. These are the names of the Bnei Yisrael coming to Egypt. With Yaakov, the word ace means with. Sometimes in stores in Israel, you'll see like two names, Cohen et Levi. It means Cohen with Levi. It could be the untranslated, just it's kind of there, or as could mean with. So in this context, it says these are the Bnei Yisrael that were coming with Yaakov, each man in his home. They came to Mitzrayim. Now we're starting a new book over here, the book of Shemot, and this is going to be, up until now we had the development where the Jewish people came from, and now we have them as a nation. Now we have them. They're no longer the individuals. They're now a nation, and they're in Egypt, and there are 70 of them coming. They come down to Mitzrayim, and the first thing you see over here is that they're connected to Yaakov Avinu. These are all married men with families. And yet they come down to Mitzrayim with Yaakov Avinu, which is what Judaism is based on. Judaism is based on a tradition, a Masorah, the tradition that we go from, goes from father to son, and and in spite of being great people on their own rights, they're connected to the previous generation. So I think I told you, Rabbi Grossman. Rabbi, you ever heard of the disco rabbi?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Rabbi Grossman was the disco rabbi. So he, at a certain point, they offered him to become the chief rabbi of Israel. This is a man who at the time was probably in his 50s, and they offered him because he was very, very accomplished, very a real doer, and he was very popular in the country. Popular, here you talk about a guy with a beard payas and a shtreimel, and he's popular among the secular popular, and they just felt he would be to be the Ashkenazi chief rabbi, and he turned it down. And they said to him, "Why did you turn it down?" He said, "Because I asked my father." His father was a massive Talmid Chacham, massive scholar. He said, "I asked my father, and my father said it's not for you. So I'm not going to do it." So they said to him, "Why did your father say it's not for you?" He said, "I don't know." So what do you mean you don't know? I said, "I don't know." They said, "Well, didn't you ask him?" I said, "No." So why did you ask him? My father said, "No, why should I ask him? If my father says it's good enough for me. Where we come from, we don't ask our parents." Father says, "No, it's no." He got many letters, emails, whatever it was at the time. There was letters at the time from secular people saying, "We wish our kids that was more important than anything. Which our kids would see that lesson and absorb that lesson. That you don't challenge, that you accept something parents have to say instead of cursing them out, which is what happens now, and talking back. Your father said it. That's what you do. There's a certain faith we have in the previous generation. There's a certain faith when a person understands that there's a chain dating all the way back. When you give when a couple gets married. So the guy gives the wife a ring. Now, it doesn't have to be a ring. It only has to be the value of a pruta. Theoretically, under the chuppah, you can pull out a pen and say, "Harayat mekudeshli." Don't, by the way. Don't. That will be a very unpopular move. But theoretically, you could do that. You give a pen. So where's a ring? So rings had all sorts of symbolism. One of the ideas of a ring is a link in a chain. Chains are made of link. And which means that this couple is becoming a new link in a chain that dates all the way back to Har Sinai. And so we believe that the previous generation has something we don't have, which is that they're one step closer to the giving of the Torah at Sinai. The previous generation has something. That's why there's something called subsequent by the secular world, since they come from gorillas or believe they come from gorillas. So each generation looks at the previous generation as, "You're a generation closer to being a gorilla. We're better than you. We're more advanced than you." Whereas the what do you call it? The secular world, we believe the world advancing. By us, we believe the world deteriorating spiritually. Spiritual previous generation is a higher spiritual level. So that's how you have the Jewish people come down to Mitzrayim, and it's Yaakov Ishu Beso. They come down to Mitzrayim. Put away the food. In front of a chumash. Even in front of a chumash, especially in front of a chumash. Unless we show the chumash on film. The video, one doesn't eat when one's studying Torah. The connection to Yaakov Avinu, is the connection to the previous generation. Number one. Number two, there's a problem here. The Mefarshim point out, what does the word haboim? What does the word haboim translate to in Hebrew? Haboim. They were coming to Mitzrayim, as opposed to they came to Mitzrayim, or they went to Mitzrayim, past tense. In other words, it's present tense instead of past tense. Why is it present tense? Haboim Mitzrayim. Why is it present tense? So the Mefarshim say that the present tense represents the idea that each day, when the torment began, when the Egyptians began tormenting the Jewish people, so it was as if they, when somebody new arrives, a new kid arrives in class, everybody beats him up or something, welcome to the class. So it was as if they had arrived, as if we never met you before. Each day that the Jews were suffering, it was as if we never met you before. We didn't know who you were. They are now arriving again. Anytime you arrive new, like when you arrive in yeshiva, so it's difficult. The first day is difficult. The first day we get to arrive in school, the first time you arrive is difficult. It's if they're arriving every day. There's a difficulty of arriving every day once the shibud begins. The shibud means the subjugation to the Egyptians. Once that begins. By the way, if you go to just a reminder, I forgot. I didn't forget. If you go to the website, don't forget to visit our website, the DovidBKaplan.com. So there is a review sheet on parsha Shemot. Now it's available already for the Shabbos table. I deal questions with answers from various commentaries to promote discussion around the Shabbos table and to promote income for me. But nobody feel dude? I told you, don't feel no pressure to buy, and hopefully I'll find some other way to support my family. So I'm Jewish. So now, if you take a look at Rashi, take a look at Rashi, very first Rashi on the page. It's the right column. Ve'elu shmos b'nei Yisrael. Af al pi shemena'an b'chayeyim, even though they were counted in their lifetime, b'shmosam, by name, we just had them in the previous parsha, it told them the name, chazaru mena'an b'misasa. So again, it enumerates, it goes by name when they die. Lehodia chibasam, this is to let you know how beloved they are. Shenim shelu lekochavim, the Jewish people are compared to stars. Shemotzianu machnisan b'misbar v'shmasa. Hashem brings them out. Each star has a name. Each star has a job. So what is the comparison? Why are the Jewish people compared to stars? We're compared to stars, we're compared to sand, and we're compared to dirt. Each one has a different idea behind it. What's the comparison to stars? Why does the Torah compare the Jewish people to stars? So several explanations are given. What do you say? Ruchnius, spiritual. Stars, we look up and the stars look spiritual even though they're very physical. They're very physical. They have a light shining. So one of the ideas is that, how big is the nearest? How close is the nearest star? About 3 million light years away, or something like that. Now, when you look at a star, the star looks kind of small. What? The sun's the nearest star. And how near is it?
93 million miles.
Oh, is that it? Oh, all right. Remind me next Sunday. I got nothing to do. I'll take a trip. 93. Oh, that's good. Okay, I thought it was like 96. Forget it. I'll change my plans. I was going to cancel it. So it's 93 million miles away. The nearest. What they talk about light years, this, that, and the other. Okay. One of the ideas is that when you take a look at a star, the star looks like looks like this little dot of light. And theoretically, the closer you get to a star, the bigger it would become enormous. Some of the stars are bigger than the Earth. The closer you get to the star, the bigger it becomes. So when it's like a map. I was looking at a map the other day, and I saw the map. They were showing the map of Chile. It looked like you could stretch your hands and reach both sides of Chile. But once you're in Chile, it's a little wider than all that. But it looks like it on a map. The map is like 1/5 millionth of the, on the scale of the thing. A star looks like a little dot. The closer you get to the star, the bigger it becomes. A Jew, you see a Jew sitting next to you, you guys know what we call an ordinary Jew. There's no such thing as an ordinary Jew. There are two types of Jews. There are Jews who are growing and Jews who are not growing. A Jew who's growing is never an ordinary Jew. And it's unfortunate, but we usually find this out when somebody dies. Then you go to the house, you hear the eulogy or something, you say, oh, do you know that he learned Daf Yomi every day for the last 40 years? Wow, I didn't know that, you know. Do you know that there were 12 families in the neighborhood that he was supporting, poor families that nobody knew that he gave them food every Shabbos? They go, okay, I didn't know that. You find out about a Jew, you find out, unfortunately, you find out a lot of things about him. The guy was sitting next to you in shul. Then you find out, this guy's a lot bigger than I thought he was. He just looked like a person. You know this guy has put on tefillin every day for this bar mitzvah? Do you know that this guy has treated his wife nicely almost every day since they got married? You know, and they only got married a week ago. You know that this guy, this guy's what he does chesed, he does with hatzal, I didn't know. Sure you didn't know, because all you see is the person in front of you. The closer you get to a Jew, the more you find out about him, the bigger he becomes. That's a comparison to stars. If you would be able to spend a day with Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, or Reb Chaim Kanievsky, or the Chafetz Chaim, by the end of the day, you'd be absolutely shocked at what you see. The behavior a human being could behave in such a manner that is such a high level. And we read the books and we hear about these people. Until you actually live with them and you actually spend time with them, they become enormous. So the Jewish people are compared to stars, number one, because the stars, we look at them. As opposed to, and I told you, I think I've mentioned this in the past, there's a statement in the Gemara that Paro, who was the king of Egypt, was 1 amma tall. You know how much an amma is? About 18 inches. Paro was 1 amma tall. I mean, he could walk under this table without bending his knees. Right? Not only that, there's another statement in the Medrash that King Nebuchadnezzar, who destroyed the Beis Hamikdash, was the most powerful ruler. The Gemara says that even when when Nebuchadnezzar went to Gehenna, the dwellers of Gehenna got nervous. Oh no, here comes Nebuchadnezzar to torment us. They said, when Nebuchadnezzar was alive, he was such a nasty cuss, people were petrified of Nebuchadnezzar. And so King Nebuchadnezzar, it says he was katan kikat, he was the size of a jug. What? Yeah, that's what it says. Mike, hold that up for a second. Hold up the thermos for a second. There's Nebuchadnezzar right there. There's King Nebuchadnezzar, size of a jug. No, yeah. How do you like that? And let's put this in the proper perspective. You got Paro is a size of an amma, and Nebuchadnezzar is the size of a jug. They must have great one-on-ones, I'll tell you. But at the end of the day, they probably only played Nerf. But at the end of the day, the two most powerful monarchs in the ancient world, they were both tiny. I didn't understand. What's the Medrash telling you? What does that mean? So I understood this when I heard somebody who became a Baal Tshuva. He had been involved in show business, and he'd been rubbing elbows with world famous people, celebrities, and very world famous people that you've heard of from the secular entertainment world. And when he got married, I remember him saying that, you hear about these people, you read about these people, and you think of they're very big people. He says when you get to know them up close, they're very small people. And when he said that, that's when the coin dropped. I understood what the Medrash is saying. You could be the biggest monarch in the world. You could be the ruler of Egypt. You could be the ruler of... And at the end of the day, you're really small. You're a puny person. You have zero control over yourself. You could be the president of the United States, and you're totally and utterly out of control. Any similarities to current events are purely intentional. But you're totally out of control. So a Jew is compared to a star, number one. Number two, as Rashi says, every star, God didn't create them by accident. That means in the constellations and however the mazolos work, and every single star has a function and a purpose. That means every single Jew has a function and a purpose. The first mitzvah in the Torah is to be fruitful and multiply. Why is that? What do you need so many people for? I heard once about a story of these Balei Tshuvas. A couple got married. They became Baal Tshuvas. The parents were not on board. They became Baal Tshuvas. The couple got married, and after a couple of years, they had they were married for, they had 6 kids, and the wife's expecting the 7th, and they were only married about 8 years, And the secular mother comes to visit, and she sees her daughter is pregnant, and she just looks at her daughter. She sees she's in her 6th month. She looks at her and says, "What? You need another one?" So the daughter says, "Mom, you're absolutely right." She calls out the kids, lines up the grandchildren. She says, "Mom, you're right. Which one shouldn't we have had?" After that, she never heard a word from her mother again. The mother never said a word. But the question is, you guys have noticed religious families, in Israel, if you look at religious families, a family with 8, 9, 10 kids doesn't even turn a neck. Nobody even gives it a second glance. When you get up to 12, 13, then, it's a large family. You get to 16, 17, that you're major leagues. So you need so many. The answer is that the first mitzvah of the Torah is to have children, as many as you can have, because each individual person, there are no two people that serve Hashem the same way. Each person, whatever your life situation is, whatever your challenges, abilities, talents, your whole life circumstance, however you're serving God, no one else in the world serves God that way. You are yourself an individual Kiddush Hashem. You sanctify God's name different than anybody else can. The same way that every star has a function, every star has a job. You have a job. God created you with your circumstances, created us with our circumstances. Each one of us has a specific job, just like that's the comparison to the stars. There used to be a jingle on TV. I don't know if none of you probably heard of it. I think it was for mutual life insurance. There's no anybody else in the whole human race with your kind of style and your kind of grace. You never heard of that? Nobody else exactly like you. Nobody else like you, Jew. Right? That's my own little. Right? So at the end of the day, there's nobody else like you. You're individual, and every individual has a job and a role. Sometimes you wonder, what's my contribution? How much could I possibly contribute? Because I put on tefillin, because I learned the Mishnah. But everybody puts on tefillin. Everybody learns the Mishnah. The answer is yeah, but not everybody is you. You putting on tefillin is not the same as you putting on. It's not the same as me putting on tefillin. Everybody's putting on it's a different form of serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because we're all different people. We come from different places. And therefore, that's a comparison. The third comparison to the stars, this is, I think, a beautiful idea. I've mentioned this in the past, that when did the stars get created?
On the third day.
Why were they created?
To separate light from darkness.
Light from darkness was before the stars. Remember the Medrash? Why were the stars created? God created. That says God says the Shtei Me'oros HaGedolim. There were the two great lights. There were the two great lights. That means that the sun and the moon were created equal. And the Medrash says the moon came to Hashem and said, "You can't have two kings with one crown." So God said to the moon, "You're absolutely right. Go reduce yourself." I remember, I think, the moon must at that point think like, that wasn't where I was going with this, You just imagine the moon's reaction. That wasn't quite. So Hashem said, go reduce yourself. And so because the moon was depressed, God created the stars so that the moon should be able to rule over the stars. Don't feel so bad. This is your army. You're in charge of this army. Right? That the moon, that's what the Medrash says. That's when the stars were created. So what we see is that the purpose of the stars, the reason the stars were created, was in order to bring relief and make the moon feel better. Which means that it's a job of a Jew to go through life, that the people around us, our job is to make sure that everybody around us feels better. Our job in life is to bring relief to people who are sad and to anybody who we can make feel better to feel better. That's our job. As opposed to putting people down, our job is to build people up. And that's the comparison to stars. So it's a difficult thing for men especially. Women are generally different. Women are always talking, complimenting. Oh, you look so good tonight. Oh, it's so nice to see you. There's a lot of adjectives there in women conversation. By men, it's yo, what's up? That's basically the whole conversation. And men are constantly, digging at each other. But men have to also, compliment the guy, build the guy up. Tell the guy, wow, you asked a good question in class. Say, yeah, you're looking good today. That sort of thing. In today's world, you can't even say that. But whatever it is that you're, a nice sweater, a nice sweater. I saw, what a nice car. Whatever it is, the job in life of a Jew is to make sure, and it's an important thing to always ask yourself after any interaction with another person. It's a good rule to remember. And when you have an interaction with somebody else, whether it's a phone call or a personal interaction, ask yourself, did this person walk away happier, or was he just happy to walk away? Right? That's an important question to ask yourself. And our job in life is to make sure that people walk away from us happier. Sometimes we want them to walk away, but to walk away happier. That's our job in life. That's a comparison to stars. Okay. Now, the Torah goes on, and then it says in Pasuk Vav, Vayamas Yosef v'cholecha v'chol adorahu. Yosef dies, and by the way, he predeceases his brothers. Yosef predeceases his brothers, so that no one will say the brothers died first as a punishment for having sold Yosef. So Yosef dies before any of the brothers.
He chose to?
He didn't. Most people don't choose to die. They, unless they're suicidal, most people don't choose to die. But he did die. Hashem chose that he died. Hashem's in charge of that. That's Hashem's department. And most people try to stay alive as long as possible. Statistically, that's what we find. So Yosef and all of his brothers die. Uvnei Yisrael paru vayishritzu vayirbu vayatzu b'mod ma'od. The Jewish people increase very much. Vatimalei ha'aretz osam. The land becomes filled with them. There's a medrash that says Yaakov Avinu, when he died, he had 600,000 descendants. That fast. It was fast. They've done studies. They've done studies based on, what's it called when you study population growth? I think studies of population growth. And they've what's it called? Demographics. And they said according by 70 people to reach the numbers of 600,000 doesn't work based on, and we know there's a source that says that women were having 6 children at a time. They were giving birth to 6 children based on their 6 words in the pasuk that describes their growth. So they were having 6 children at a time. That means a small family had 18 children. And she only gave birth 3 times. The Goldsteins down the block, they had 60. So they're having 6 children at a time. They're having 6 children at a time. And if you guys think, you have 1 child is overwhelming. You have 1 child is absolutely overwhelming, with 2 parents taking care of, and 1 child is overwhelming. Now I have 2 sets of granddaughter twins. All right, 2 sets of granddaughters from two different daughters, and twins is just you're when they're little, there's always somebody in the house crying. One of the babies is crying. If not, one of the adults is crying. But somebody's always crying. It's over. Now you got 6 kids. So 6 kids, you need an automatic, these automatic bread makers. You put in the dough at one end and out comes. You probably need an automatic diaper changer for 6 kids. Put the baby in at one end, just come out changed at the other end. There's actually, I think, 3 Frum families. I know at least 2. I think there's a 3rd one from family that had quintuplets. Quints. I think the world record now, for surviving is someone from Pakistan or India or something. I think they had either 8 or 9. Yeah, I think they were 8 or 9 from. I think they were. That was from. Where were they from? Like one of the where?
Time, because there's like the Octomom is very well known.
The what?
The Octomom.
Octomom?
Yeah, she had 8 kids.
I figured. I never. Is that like a superhero, like a Superman? Octomom. Come on, kids, stay on my arm.
Like a reality show or something.
Okay, so I think it's 8 or 9 that actually survived from Octomom. Hey, we're on to something. We'll talk afterwards. We may be on. We'll market this one. So they're having all these kids. Vatimaleha oretz osam, and the land becomes full with them. Now, the land become full of Jews is not a good thing, because this triggers off the reaction of the Egyptians. And what does it mean? The Medrash says that the theaters and circuses were filled with Jews. Every time you went to the theater, you couldn't find a seat because all the Jews got the good seats. All the Jews got the parking lots. The Jews were all over the place. They're the theaters and the circuses. They're filling up, and it's annoying for the Egyptians. And they're multiplying. Everywhere you go, you see a Jew, and they can't see an Octomom. So they're just. So what happens as a result? And by the way, this is a reminder to us: keep a low profile. Our job while we're in exile is to keep a low profile. Try to be as inconspicuous about. When Jews go and build big houses, that's not a good thing. The Goyim see that. And they say, why did the Jews how come the Jews got all the money? And why is the Jews the owner of the sports team? And why are they the ones bringing about, they're ruining our thing, because now they're all going to go on strike, because the Jewish owners and the Jewish commissioner are messing us over. And the Jews own this department stores. The Jews got a lawyer who's suing me. And the Jew is the guy who cut me off in traffic. And they keep a low profile. They'll just say we're supposed to keep a low profile. We're not supposed to be prominent. Jewish politicians, not a good thing for us. Not a good thing for us to have Jews who are governors and vice presidents and that sort of thing. We don't want that. Because then there's always going to be a negative backlash. We're much better off doing things behind the curtain, behind the scenes. Doing things out and being loud and being talking and tucking on Tucker Carlson, you're not going to gain anything from that. Tucker Carlson could be, let him talk. There's nothing good's going to happen by debating him. And that's all it is there's another loudmouth Jew who's debating him. Even he's the anti-Semite, but people are looking at the Jew. And we want to be looked at as little as possible. Nothing good. And that's exactly what happens. Vayakam melech chadash al Mitzrayim asher lo yada es Yosef. A new king arises in Egypt who didn't know Yosef. And Rashi says there are two opinions there. There's one opinion that he was actually a new king, literally a new king. Another opinion is he pretended not to know Yosef. And he was an ingrate. The king was an ingrate. If he was a new king, he was an ingrate. Yosef saved his economy. If this was the king that was around at the time of Yosef, so Yosef saved him, saved his throne, saved his economy. And if he's the new king, so if he's the same king and he's just with a new attitude, so you got a complete switch, which is also a lesson to us that even when they're friendly, it can switch overnight. And everybody thought the president said this, the president said it's not the president. And it's not coming from the president, it's coming from our behavior. And if our behavior is good, the president will be good. It has to do with HaKadosh Baruch Hu running the world, not the president running the world. And it's not them, it's us. And if we deserve better, we'll get better. And if it's not good, it's because of us. And we have to stop being deceived by all the news and the media, the politics, and the anti-Semitism, this, that, and the other. If it's there, it's because of us. And there's no way to put a stop to it. And the best thing we can do is just try to stay under the radar as much as possible. That's our job, stay under the radar. So it says, Vayakam melech chadash asher lo yada es Yosef. Now, according to the Mefarshim, what it means they didn't know Yosef is if this guy made a big boo-boo. This guy made a big boo-boo. If he would have studied Yosef's life, what he would have realized is that the more Yosef, whenever Yosef was oppressed, what happened? He flourished, exactly correct. The brothers tried to oppress, tried to sell him, hands up, Potiphar throws him in jail, comes out, pushing him down, where pop goes the weasel, you push him down, he's going to pop up higher. So Yosef, if Paro would have paid, so what are you going to do? You're going to try to oppress the Bnei Yisrael. It's going to work, it's going to boomerang against you. So Paro, Asher lo yada as Yosef, he didn't study Yosef's life well enough to realize what was going to happen to the Jewish people. So they says, hey, whoa, we got a problem over here because the Jewish people are increasing and they're going to toss us out of the land. So they put them to hard labor, paid to $294. I'm tell you a life rule over here. Vayasimu of Sarei Misim, according to some, Sarei Misim means they put unreasonable taxes on them, which they couldn't, a special Jew tax. You can't pay the tax. You got that size nose, you're going to have to pay more. And the lemana noso b'sivlosam, in order to what do you call it? In order to torment them. So there's a special Jew tax which they couldn't pay. Vayiven are miskinos leparo es pison ves Ramses. They build these cities for Paro. Ore miskinos. Different opinions what that means. According to some, that they put from the word sakana, they endanger those who are building. There are midrashim that say that they purposely made the Jews do things that they were not qualified for. Weaker people were given heavier loads, and stronger people were given lighter loads, and they purposely made people do jobs. It was hot, and it was a way of tormenting the Jewish people. Now, one of the things that happens here, according to one of the midrash, whatever they built was, I think there's some that speculate that they built the pyramids or whatever. I don't know if that's been confirmed or not. Whatever they were building was sinking into the earth. So you're building and it sinks. You're building and it sinks. You're building and it sinks. And one of the reasons to do that, A, it keeps you busy. B, it breaks the spirit. Because even somebody who's doing, so let's say you get a guy, one of these road crews, they're tarring the highway, or they're building a bridge. At the end of the day, they may be getting, minimum wage, but at the end of the day, you walk home and you feel you did something. And a human being needs to feel that he did something. You need to feel that you accomplished. And here, you're building it, and it's futile. The next day, you start building again. And it's an exercise in futility. And they're not happy about it. And it's a way of breaking the spirit of the Jewish people. Now, one of the opinions here, it says, and take a look at Pasuk, the more they oppressed them, the more the Jews increased. And then in Pasuk, you give them 4 lines from the top. Vayavidu Mitzrayim es b'nei Yisrael b'farech. The Egyptians put the Jews to work at hard labor. Farech is hard labor. That's a remarkable word, this word farech. First of all, it breaks into 2 Hebrew words, perach. Perach means a soft mouth. There should be an extra chumashim. Pass the chumash down. Pass the chumash over there. We're on page 294. If you just joined us, you could go to dovidbkaplan.com, where there is a review sheet on parsha Shemot available, questions on the parsha with answers from various mefarshim, with ideal for the Shabbos table, even though money is muksa on Shabbos. The Vayavidu es b'nei Yisrael b'farech. Farech means perach means a soft mouth. That means the Egyptians, first they showed that they were friendly, they spoke with a soft mouth, and they conned the Jewish people in until they got them to a point they were involved in slavery. Number 1. Number 2, there's an opinion in the Gemara that was role reversal. Role reversal means that they had the men doing the women's job and the women doing the men's job. One of the most frustrating things in life is when you're assigned to do something which you feel total inadequacy at. If you take a woman and put a woman to hard labor, go build buildings, she feels inadequate. She's not made for that. This is not something I'm good at. If you would put me down in front of a physics book and tell me to start figuring out physics problems, I'd be frustrated. I mean, it's frustrating. It's not even a challenge. It's beyond challenge. It's frustration. When you're doing something that you feel you're inadequate at. Now, one of the things, you have women doing men's work, they're going to feel inadequate. That's going to be very frustrating. Very, very frustrating. For a man to do women's work is also very, very frustrating. A husband who has to take care of babies in the house, you love them to pieces. Right? The problem is that, number 1, for most of the time, you don't even know what does this kid eat? How often, what time does he go to sleep? You don't even know what they're supposed to wear. Listen, I've done it. When I've taken over the house, when my wife has gone off to give birth or something like that, and I had to stay home and take care of the other kids, you could drive you nuts, because we're not equipped, we're not built for that. A woman, do you know that women do not have to keep the time-bound mitzvahs? Are you aware of that? Women do not have to. Do you know why that is? Women don't have the same internal clock as men. They're not time conscious, because you can't be time conscious if you're going to be an efficient mother, because there are a lot of things that take a lot of time. Time is standing still. You're just rocking a baby who's cranky, and nothing's happening. And you got to nurture and develop them and talk to them and everything else. Listen, if I could take care of a kid. If I had the kid and I could talk to the kid for an hour, and after an hour, the 2-year-old would be fluent and he'd learn a Mishnah. Okay, something's been accomplished over here. But it takes a few years to get a kid to talk. I remember taking care of the kids. I'm home with the kids. So first you break up a fight, change a diaper, put something in the oven, change another diaper, break up another fight, do the laundry, you move back. That was the first 10 minutes. You could go absolutely batty. You're inadequate because we're time. And I'm thinking to myself, boy, I got to get the minyan. I got mincha, got deadlines. So some men are not equipped for that. And that's the way of breaking the spirit, to say nothing of nursing the baby, of feeding the kids. So you're totally, and that's exactly what the Egyptians had in mind, was to break the spirit of the Jewish people, to break their spirits. Okay. So they put them to work, and then the commentaries say like this. Have you ever heard the expression, kol hascholos koshos? Anything that you begin new is always difficult. If you begin a new job, it's difficult when you got to get adjusted. What's the office? What does the boss want? You begin a new school. You begin any kol hascholos. A marriage is difficult in the beginning. That means only the first 40 years. Right after that, it's a breeze. But in the beginning stages, it's very challenging. Raising children is difficult. Getting used to what it is to raise a child, to get up in the middle of the night. Kol hascholos kashas, a rule from the Gemara. Kol hascholos kashas. All beginnings are challenging. What they purposely did, take a look at the next pasuk, 14. Vayamaru es chayeyem ba'avoda kasha. They embittered their lives with hard labor. B'chomer uvilvenim, with mortar, with bricks. Uvechol avoda basada, work in the fields. Es kol avodasa masher avodah b'farach. And the commentaries say they constantly switched people's jobs. That every day it should feel that it's a new job to increase the difficulty. Yesterday you were building with bricks. Tomorrow you're going to be cutting the straw in the field. You're going to be harvesting the field. The next day you're going to be out doing something else with the mortar, and constantly shifting them around to make it even more difficult. That every single day is going to be a new difficulty. That adds to torment the Jewish people. Just for that. To torment. The whole point here is to. So the word parech, avodas perach. In the Beis Hamikdash, there was a curtain that separated. What was that curtain called? A parochet. That was the parochet that separated the two sections in the Beis Hamikdash. The word perach is related. The root of the word perach is related to the word paroches. What's the connection? What's the connection between avodas perach and paroches? The answer is that the Egyptians have had enough with they're fed up with the Jewish people dominating the society. And what they want to do is they want to create a separation, a curtain, a separation between the two worlds, between the two societies. There's the Egyptians and there's the Jewish people. The easiest and most efficient way to get your own people on board to put the other nation into a different grouping is by making the other nation a slave class. Once you make them second-class citizens, there's a famous picture from the Holocaust of, I think, the Jews in Austria. They're scrubbing the streets. And you have a bunch of Austrians who are standing around jeering at them and laughing at them while the Jews are scrubbing the streets with brushes. The purpose of that is you get everybody on board. They're the losers. They're the second-class citizens, and everybody else jumps on board. So you get all the Egyptians rallying because now we've decided this is going to be, that's the curtain, that's the parochas, that's the separation between the two cultures. That they were going to make a separation. And it's a lesson to us as well. You know, they say if Jews don't make Kiddush, the Goyim make Havdalah. You know, when Jews stop making Kiddush, then the Goyim make the Havdalah, which is separation. Right? So we lose either way because that's called a decree that's the decree of exile. Exile is not something. The fact that we're in exile, HaKadosh Baruch Hu did that, and the fact that there's anti-Semitism. I mean, look around the world. You know, can you know what do you call it? You got people killing. Who's going at it over there in Africa? A couple of countries are going at it. Somalia. Where you against the who? Somebody against somebody. You know, find it on a map. You know, and where's everybody focused? On Israel. Somebody built a balcony on the West Bank. It's like a front page on Time magazine. You know, some Jew built a balcony out in the West Bank. You know, some Jew, somebody did so. The Jews had so much focus on us. And everywhere you look in the world, anti-Semitism is increasing. It's not decreasing. Everywhere you go, England, France, America, New York, everywhere you go is anti-Semitism. What? There's nothing we can do about it. Nothing we can do about it. Don't say, we'll what they call hasbara. We'll try to communicate to them what's it called, dialogue. All the dialogue does is get them more upset because some smart Jews got all the answers. That just gets more anti-Semitism. So what do? We have to be loyal to Torah, and the more loyal we are to Torah, the less anti-Semitism there will be. It's the only cure. There is no cure for it. It's like finding a cure for work. You know, since Adam was cursed, b'zeyas apecha tochal lechem, you will eat by the sweat of your brow. Since then, man has had to work. How would you like to not, a world where make money without working? It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Why? Because that's the way the world works. The world works, and there's death. They still have not found the cure for death. You were asking about that, Alicia, about did he choose? No, he didn't choose it. Nobody chooses it, and they haven't found the cure for it. Why? Because it was decreed. So God decreed you're going to die. God decreed you're going to work. The same God decreed there's going to be anti-Semitism. and therefore there's no cure for it. So what's our job? Our job is to daven that there shouldn't be, and our job is to behave as good Jews. That's what God wants from us. So there's a curtain over here that's going to separate. They're going to make that separation all the time. They're always going to separate from us. Somebody once said, when Jews try to blend into the society, they always sniff out the Jews. Always, you could change your name, change your identity, everything, and they always figure out who the Jew is. Like Rabbi Weinbach once said, you could change your Moses, but you can't change your noses. Right? They'll always find us. It's like they're in the office. The boss comes in one day and he's handing out donuts, and he walks around, and the Jew looks, and the guy who's trying to nobody should know he's off. So he goes, "What? They're free?" Here's the Jew right there. Everybody, the story. This guy dies, so his the friends go to the cemetery. So the first guy goes, "Bill, we're going to miss you," and he puts a $20 bill on the tombstone. And then the second guy goes, "Bill, we're going to miss you," puts a $20 bill on it. The Jew goes, "Bill, we're going to miss you," writes a $60 check, and he takes the cash. The Jews always, they'll find us everywhere we go. They're going to find us. I once bought a new freezer. I think it cost me about 3,000 shekels. It came with a free pen. My wife was all excited about that free pen. I got a free pen. She's Jewish. Hey, lady, I just cleaned with 3,000 shekels for you. Yeah, but the pen was free. They'll always find us. We actually once got off a plane, and my wife said to the lady, "Can I have that uneaten kosher meal?" I said, "I don't know her. I don't know. Never met her before in my life." Okay. Now, now things start getting more intense. The king says to the Jewish midwives, "Asher shem ha'achas shifra v'shem ha'sheni spua," which we are told this is Miriam and this is Yocheved and her daughter Miriam, Yocheved, who's going to become Moshe Rabbeinu's mother. And one is called Shifra. Shifra means because when the babies were born, she was mishaper them. She straightened them out. Sometimes babies are born, some of the limbs got to be straightened out. And Pua means she soothed the babies. She made sure the babies tried to help that the babies shouldn't cry. So they are the paros, the midwives. Now, they're not the only midwives. According to the commentaries, they're not the only midwives in the Jewish people. They're the superintendents of all the midwives. They're not two women taking care of a bunch of women or having 6 at a time. These are the superintendents of all the Jewish midwives. So Paro calls them in, and he says to them, "Listen, when you have when you go in to birth the children, so he says, Ve'omer biyaledchen es ha'ivrios." You check on the birth stool. Im benhu va'amiten oso. If it's a son, put him to death. V'im basi v'choya. If it's a daughter, leave her alive. Paro thinking, listen, the girls, we'll take the girls. What do we care? But the boys are the trouble. The men is the problem over here. And then it says, Vatirena amiyalda says, like, you have to understand what they did. Vatirena amiyalda says, they have feared God. V'lo asu kasher dibar alein melech Mitzrayim. They didn't do what the king did. They kept the kids alive. Not only they didn't kill them, they did everything they could to go in the opposite direction. Now you got to understand it took a lot of guts over here. Because you talk about the Egyptian king. This isn't America where you get a trial and a parole and this, that. This is a monarch who could put people to death for dropping a stone in his bread as the baker got executed. You see what happens? And a man could get thrown into prison for 10 years without even a trial. So over here, Paro, they're bucking Paro. What was it that allowed them to do so? And the commentaries say that, you see, they were God-fearing. The Torah says they feared God. That means in life, it's not enough for a person to have good, midos, good, to exhibit good manners in behavior, because we see that the Germans, the Gemütlichkeit Germans, you see what they were capable of. Why? Because externally it looked like they were all very polite and controlled everything else, but they didn't fear God. If you don't fear God, you're capable of anything, regardless of what your artificial behavior is. So the key over here is, Vatirena es Elokim. They feared God. Oh, you feared God. When you fear God, you're capable of standing up to even Paro. Okay, we'll see tomorrow, Mirz Hashem, where this goes. And don't forget, anybody who's interested, is it on?
Yeah.
If you're on, what do you call it? DovidBKaplan.com is the website, and you could get the parsha question review with answers to the commentaries, which is great for the Shabbos table. So you could get even disgruntled teenagers involved in your Shabbos conversation at the table.
Is it B like violin?
B, David is B as in baseball, basketball, badminton, busted bridges in Baltimore. See ya.